And Israel, guys, Israel is becoming a Jewish fanatic society. Look at what happened recently. Didn't I say this would happen? I said, you watch. They're going to go after Haaretz. Haaretz is a liberal-leaning Israeli newspaper, very popular. And it is very critical of the Netanyahu government, very critical of the settlements, very critical of hilltop settler culture, Jewish extremism, the whole thing. And because it's so influential, because look at every single YouTube channel that is critical of Israel. Which newspaper do they all read? They all read Haaretz. Why? Because Haaretz is Israeli and it's critical of Israel. So they shut down Al Jazeera and also confiscated the equipment of U.S. news agency Associated Press. Because it's not about just targeting Al Jazeera. It's about targeting any media outlet that is a threat to the narrative of the state of Israel. They shut down Al Jazeera. Who's next? They're going to try to shut down Haaretz. It wouldn't surprise me at all. It's not a bastion of democracy. And they're going to go after Haaretz. So you can read it and you can say, hey, this is not Al Jazeera talking. This is not some Palestinian blog talking. This is an actual reputable major newspaper owned by Israelis, ran by Israelis. Almost all the authors are Israeli. And you can't say that I'm being anti-Semitic because I'm just reading what other Jewish people are saying. So Haaretz is very dangerous in that regard. In fact, I would argue that Haaretz is more dangerous to the Israeli far right than Al Jazeera. Because Al Jazeera can merely be discounted as just an Arab media outlet, right? Anti-Israel, pro-Arab media outlet. You can say the same thing for the Al-Mazah Center and the like. But Haaretz is different. It's like, no. These are Israelis talking. And they see the problems in Israel. And they're noticing and recognizing these problems. Well, I said, after Israel banned Al Jazeera, I said, watch, they're going to go after Haaretz. Because this is not about fighting terrorism. This is not about, stopping this one media outlet because, it's an outlet of Qatar. This is about controlling the media. This is about controlling speech in Israel. This is about attacking media outlets that are critical of the government so that the government can become a Jewish fanatic regime or a Jewish hardcore nationalist regime. That is what this is about. That's what this is about. Remember what Netanyahu did. He went over, in Israel you have channel 14, I believe, which is far right. He went over to a friend of his who's a billionaire and he said, listen, could you buy this left-wing media outlet and then make it so that it's not so critical of me? Yeah, absolutely, you got it. So the guy bought this channel. I think it was channel 12 or channel 13. I don't remember. He buys that channel. Now, all of a sudden, that channel, you're seeing it leaning more and more into the right, into being more pro Netanyahu and his ilk. So they're sinking their hands. They're sinking their claws into the media. You see, in Israel, there's channel 13 and then there's channel 14. In channel 13, you have more liberal-leaning, left-leaning, if you will, media. And then you have channel 14, which is very, very right-wing, very pro-Netanyahu, very pro-Likud. And I took the time to watch some of the content that has been published on channel 14. And none of it really surprised me because it's typical right-wing Zionist rhetoric. There's a lot of elation being expressed upon watching homes being destroyed in Gaza or watching people being butchered in Gaza.
אני אגיד את זה פה, לא אכפת לי שירדו עליי, אוספים פה חומרים. אני לא נרדם טוב בלי שאני רואה בתים קורסים בעזה. מה אני אעשה? עוד בתים. עוד מגדלים, שלא יהיה להם לאן לחזור. אגב, בתקופת התנ"ך גם היו זורים את האדמה במלח. הם צריכים לזכור עם עמלק. הם צריכים לזכור את זה להרבה מאוד זמן. אי אפשר להגיע לאיזה הסדר מיד. סליחה, זה רק אני.
Channel 13 is hated by the government. Channel 14 is loved by the Likud. So anyway, Channel 13 had this show that was hosted by this guy named Raviv Drucker. And Raviv Drucker is an investigative journalist who has been exposing the Netanyahu government. He has been doing deep investigative journalism on corruption within the Israeli government. And recently he did a show showing corruption within the transportation ministry in Israel, and because of the show, the police got involved and actually started investigating the transportation ministry. So there is an interest to have this show removed, and that's what happened. The show actually got canceled. And so it says here on social media, the news spread like wildfire. The management of Israel's Channel 13 announced the cancellation of its most popular and highly rated news and politics talk show, hosted by veteran investigative journalist Raviv Drucker. And so it says here that Drucker is widely known for his forensic and critical approach towards Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his government, and has published multiple investigative reports on government corruption, including exposés of corrupt behavior by the Prime Minister, who is currently on trial for corruption, accused of unlawful attempts to influence media coverage relating to himself and his family members. So Netanyahu is very interested in controlling the news media, and this is shown by really this paragraph right here. This to me is the most telling paragraph in the entire article. The entire article's message really hinges on this paragraph, because look at what it says here. Because it could be argued that, well, yes, Channel 13 said that this show was removed, it was canceled, blah blah blah, because the guy who runs the channel wanted it removed. And you could argue and say, well, the channel has the right to remove a show. But here's the thing: the guy who owns the show is a man by the name of, or the guy who owns Channel 13 is a guy by the name of Len Blavatnik. Blavatnik is a multi-billionaire. He is also a dual American-British citizen. His last name is Blavatnik. He comes from the Soviet Union. He's an Israeli, but he's also American. He's also British. It's all quite confusing, really. But this guy's a multi-billionaire, and Netanyahu told him to buy Channel 13. Now, why did Netanyahu tell this guy to buy Channel 13? Because Channel 13 is critical of Netanyahu, and Netanyahu wanted this guy to buy the channel so as to change the politics of the show, to change the politics of Channel 13, the broadcasting network. And it says here, highly relevant to observers in the US and UK is the fact that the owner of Israel's Channel 13 is Len Blavatnik, a dual American-British citizen. Blavatnik admitted in a police investigation that he had acquired Channel 13 after a request from Netanyahu, who contended that the channel leaned too much to the left. This channel is too critical of me. Damn it, buy the damn thing and change the politics of the channel, because we cannot tolerate criticism of me, criticism of my party, criticism of my government. And so which media outlet are they going to attack for the first time? Which media outlet are they going to attack in the beginning? Are they going to say, oh, let's attack Haaretz? No, that's too obvious. Let's attack a media outlet that is being funded by Arab money. So that way everyone can agree. Oh, well, it's Al Jazeera. Who cares? They're terrorists. Well, look at what's happening now. And I told you this would happen. I said they're going to go after Haaretz. Look at the news. Look at the news. This came out yesterday. Ministry cuts ties with Haaretz over apartheid allegations. So the Israeli government is now trying to get rid of Haaretz. They're trying to silence Haaretz. And I showed you guys in a prior video, I think it was a picture of the Haaretz building, I want to say in either Jerusalem or Tel Aviv. And you see a giant hole that's been busted into the glass door of the building because some fanatics came and they threw a big-ass rock through it. And I saw a video in which you had a Haaretz journalist at a nationalist rally, and you see these fanatic Jewish youths screaming at this guy, attacking him, and one of them says, I would murder this man if I could. I would take a gun and I would murder this man.
הם רוצים לרצוח אותך, אלה רוצים לרצוח אותך, לא אנחנו.
בינתיים האלימות שהיא מהצד שלכם, לא שלהם.
נכון,
אם הייתה אפשרות, הייתם יורים בו.
נכון, אנחנו רוצים לראות בו, אני לא מסכים את זה, אני רוצה לרצוח אותו.
They want to kill these people. They want to kill other Jews because they see these Jews as not real Jews. They see them as enemy of the Jews. Ministries cut ties with Haaretz over apartheid allegations. All right. The newspaper group claimed that Israel enforces. So what happened is that the CEO of Haaretz, or the guy who's running Haaretz, he made a speech in a conference. And in this conference, he said, I am against the settlements, I am against the occupation, and I support freedom fighters who our government refers to as terrorists. Bam! He had a target on him. Now, was that a wise thing to say? No. Was that a good thing to say? No. I would not have said that. But now they got their reason to attack the entire media outlet. They have their reason, they have their pretext, their green light to attack the entire media, the entire newspaper. The newspaper group claimed that now the newspaper group did not claim that. It was the guy who runs the newspaper, but this is the Jerusalem Post, they lean right. The newspaper group claimed that Israel enforces an apartheid regime and referred to those involved in violent attacks as freedom fighters. At least 3 ministries announced on Thursday that they would end all cooperation with the Haaretz newspaper, following allegations voiced this week by its publisher and head of Haaretz Group, Amos Shokin. He said Israel's rule in the West Bank and Gaza is a cruel apartheid regime over Palestinians, called Palestinian terrorists freedom fighters, and called for sanctions against Israel's leaders. The 3 ministries were the Diaspora Affairs Ministry, the Interior Ministry, and the Education Ministry. Later on Thursday, they were joined by the Economy and Industry Ministry. So they're getting attacked by the Diaspora Ministry, Interior Ministry, Education Ministry, Economy and Industry Ministry. The Diaspora Affairs Ministry's Director General Avi Cohen-Scali asserted that the ministry, along with the Bedouin Authority, which is also under its auspices, will suspend all existing agreements with Haaretz and halt any future partnership with the organization. In a letter dated October 31st, 2024, Cohen-Scali condemned Shokin's statements, saying they include extreme, baseless, and false statements, etc., etc. He further wrote that calling those who killed, raped, and butchered people, etc., as freedom fighters is wrong. I get that. The Diaspora Affairs Ministry decision, which is responsible for countering the delegitimization of Israel, reflects a zero-tolerance approach. So they're not going to work with Haaretz. They're trying to isolate the newspaper. Now, they haven't banned it. They haven't banned it yet. But I think that's coming. And I think that eventually they're just going to get rid of Haaretz, or they're going to heavily suppress Haaretz, just like they did with Al Jazeera. Israel targets Haaretz after publisher calls Palestinians freedom fighters. The publisher of the Haaretz news outlet has come under fire from the Israeli government after he referred to Palestinian freedom fighters during a speech in London. That's where he gave the speech. I was wondering where he gave it. Amos Shokin was speaking at a conference in London on Sunday when he made the comments, which have provoked calls from government ministers to clamp down on the outlet's activities. It dismisses the cost of both sides for defending the settlements while fighting the Palestinian freedom fighters that Israel calls terrorists. This is what this guy said. So now they said, okay, this guy, he is the publisher for Haaretz. He said this. We got our reason. Shokin clarified his remarks to indicate he did not consider Hamas to be freedom fighters and emphasized he supported freedom fighters who did not use terrorism. Well, it doesn't matter, Shokin. That's it. They got their reason. Nevertheless, Israel's communications minister Shlomo Khari submitted a proposal on Thursday calling for a number of government restrictions on Haaretz as a result of Shokin's comments. There you go. They got their reason now to restrict the media even more in Israel. And now they're going after other Jews. You see? You say, well, they're attacking the Arabs because the Arabs are terrorists. They're going to attack other Jews. They've already done this. They're going to attack other Jews. They're attacking Haaretz. They want to restrict Haaretz. They're going to go after their own people. It's not just about fighting the Arabs, everyone. It's also about going after other Jews who they see as enemies of Israel. Just like you had Jews butchering each other 40 years after they crucified Jesus. Among the new proposals issued by Khadi's office are that the government, quote, shall not enter into new contracts with Haaretz, including individual subscriptions for state employees. Oh, so now they're controlling which newspapers state employees can subscribe to? Now they're saying, well, if you're a state employee, you can't subscribe to Haaretz? That's freaking crazy. Nor renew any existing contracts. All current agreements with Haaretz, including personal subscriptions, will be canceled as legally feasible. Wow. So controlling which newspaper you can subscribe to. That's crazy. You know, it's amazing. Right-wingers were up in arms about France wanting to ban Telegram, and then France banned Telegram, and they say, oh my God, or sorry, France put the leader of Telegram, the founder of Telegram in prison, or they arrested him, and they said, oh my God, look, the French government is trying to restrict speech, blah, blah, blah. They're going to go out, they're going after Telegram first, but then later on they're going to go after other people. People were up in arms about Brazil banning X, and the ban has been rescinded, by the way. But I remember when Brazil banned X/Twitter, and people were saying, oh my God, the end of free speech, yada, yada, yada. I don't see any of these conservatives bringing this up about Israel. Why? Oh, because it's a right-wing government trying to oppress liberals. That's the reason why. It's only when their fellow guys are suppressed that they get up in arms about free speech. But when it's right-wingers suppressing free speech, hush, hush. When it's Hindu nationalists repressing free speech, hush, hush. When it's right-wing Israelis repressing free speech, hush, hush. It's only when liberals do it that it's a big deal, and it's a war on free speech, everyone. They both want to restrict free speech because at the end of the day, it's about preserving power. And Haaretz is a threat to the establishment. It's a threat to the utopian vision of a fanatical Jewish society. They have to get rid of it. It's a threat, just like Twitter is a threat to the Western establishment, just like Telegram is a threat to the establishment media. Haaretz is a threat to the utopian aspiration for Jewish extremism. That's the bottom line. And when you want to fight your enemies, you will restrict their speech. Lefties would do it. Righties would do it. It is also said that the Government Advertising Bureau shall, quote, direct Haaretz to cease all advertisements, including statutory notices, regardless of payment status, and seek refunds for any existing payments. No further ads shall be placed in the publication. Wow. The proposal is identical to one issued by Khadi in November 2023 when he accused the outlet of undermining Israel's war efforts in Gaza. Justice Minister Yadav Levine also sent a letter on Thursday to Attorney General Gali Baharav Miar. Some of these names, man, they sound Hindu, requesting powers to restrict Haaretz's operations while restricting free speech. Could you imagine if the U.S. government said, hey, this Jewish newspaper in the U.S., yeah, we're going to restrict it. Yeah, we don't like it. We're going to restrict it. You don't think Israel would be up in arms about that? You bet your ass they would. I ask you urgently, provide me with a draft law stipulating that actions by Israeli citizens to promote or encourage international sanctions on Israel, its leaders, security forces, and citizens shall constitute a criminal offense punishable by 10 years in prison. So they want to give people prison time. I further suspect that such an offense during wartime be considered an aggravating circumstance, allowing for the penalty to be doubled. Telling you, it's coming, guys. It is indeed coming. Jewish utopianism. And I always reject utopianism because utopia always leads to murder. That's the bottom line. It always leads to murder. That's the bottom line, guys. Arab-Israeli artist was recently interviewed by Haaretz. And look what he said here. This is a prophecy, guys. Little Palestinian prophecy right here. It should be clear to every Israeli citizen, says Ajbadia, that, quote, in a couple of years, there will be nothing here, neither Arab nor Jewish. If today they do not allow Arabs to speak, tomorrow it will be left-wingers and then everybody else, and there will be no art here and no culture and no nothing. Just religion, and that's it. So he's saying, in a matter of years, and by the way, he doesn't mean literally 2 years when he says couple of years. In Palestinian culture, when they say a couple of years, it doesn't necessarily mean literally 2 years. It could also mean 10 years from now. It's just a form of expression that they have. But he says, in a matter of years, there aren't going to be any Arabs here. There aren't going to be any other Jews here. It's just going to be fanatics. This is a prophecy. And I totally foresee this. I totally foresee Israel just becoming a nation of fanatics where Jews and Arabs will kill each other. Jews will butcher Arabs. Jews will butcher other Jews.